Okay, so now we need to determine if we're on the ground or not. So we're going to make another public bool called isGrounded. And we can just set that default to false. And then in our fixed update, we use a little bit of complicated math here, but luckily you don't necessarily need to understand exactly what it's doing. A lot of game programming uses a lot more math than like typical web programming. And honestly, like I'm not even that great at math, but you learn to like memorize certain things, and then eventually after doing them enough times, you start to learn what they are. So definitely don't be too intimidated by some of this code. We're just going to type isGrounded equals physics 2D dot overlap area. And then we're going to do new vector2 transform dot position dot x minus 0.5f, comma transform dot position dot y minus 0.5f. And then outside of the first bracket, do another comma and hit enter. And then do another new vector2 and do transform dot position dot x plus 0.5f, comma transform dot position dot y minus 0.51f. And then finally, we need to send in a layer. I'm going to explain what all this is, by the way. So we are going to have a public layer mask, what is ground. And then we are going to send in what is ground. And then in the inspector, we are going to have an option here to select the ground layer. So basically what all of this is creating a rectangle around the bottom of the player. It looks for a box collider under the layer of ground. If it detects that we are touching that layer, set isGrounded to true. Otherwise, set isGrounded to false. So this is saying grab this position of our player and then grab this position of our player and make a rectangle with those coordinates. So this is like top left, the Y value would be top and bottom, and then the X value would be left and right. And all you need to know is that this makes a rectangle around our player, and then this is the layer. So it draws a rectangle and says if that is touching our layer of ground, then we are grounded. And now if we go back to Unity, and then we look at our player controller, as soon as it loads, you'll see this what is ground. Right now it's set to nothing. We're just gonna click and you'll see it displays all of our layers here. It'll be the exact same as the options here. And we're just gonna select ground. So now, hopefully this works. Let's click play. And you can see once we hit the ground, it says that we're grounded. Now if I lift us up, actually I'll just minimize these so that we can see our player controller. If I lift this up, you'll see we're not grounded until we touch the ground. And this is really good because we only want our player to jump if we're grounded. So now we know whether or not we're going to be allowing our player to jump. So we're going to be separating our jump into two separate things. One of them is going to be an update and one of them is going to be in fixed update. So an update, we're going to detect if we've pressed the space bar, because update, you want to do all of your inputs in this. Do anything other than physics, I guess. Anything other than physics. Now, detecting if a key is pressed on our keyboard isn't our rigid body. It's not physics. So therefore, we want to do it in update. So we're going to detect if we can jump in update, and then fixed update if we set jump to true in our normal update, then we jump. So that'll make a little bit more sense in a second. We're going to have another variable called public bool jump now equal to false. Now in update, we're going to say if input dot get key down key code dot space. So if the user presses the spacebar and is grounded, so if the player is pressing the spacebar and they are grounded, then we're going to set jump now to equal true. So that's all we do, which won't actually make us jump. It's just setting this variable to be true because we want to do our input in our update, but we don't actually want to jump unless we're in our physics fixed update. So now here, we're going to say if jump now, then in here, we're going to actually write the code to make our player jump. But we don't want to make them jump twice in a row, so we'll set jump now equal to false. And then we're going to say is grounded equal to false. And then we are going to type in rb.velocity equals vector2.up times jump force, which jump force doesn't actually exist yet. So it's similar to speed. We'll have a public int jump force equal to like 4. So we press our spacebar down and we're grounded. We set jump now to true. So then when it runs our physics update, it'll say if we're supposed to jump, then make sure we don't run this code again because we're already jumping. Set grounded to false because we're in the air. And then take our rb.velocity and only increase the y-axis. So that's what vector2.up is it's basically new vector2 0 1. So it's saying don't change our x-axis, only change our y-axis. And then times jump force. So similar to speed, if we increase our jump force number, it will make us jump higher. And then because we know we're supposed to be jumping here, technically at this point, even though our variable of in the air is set to true, our program will think we're in the air, and we will be because we're about to jump. If we immediately check is grounded afterwards, it will still be false, or it will still be true, even though we've jumped, because we haven't moved yet. So we only want to run this is grounded code if we aren't jumping. So we're gonna have an else, and then we're just gonna copy this in here. So we don't want the code to think we're grounded, even though we are technically grounded for a split second before we jump. So now if we save the game and we reload, if we click spacebar, we will jump. And you'll notice we won't be able to double jump because our game knows that we're not on the ground. Now, can I wall jump? No, I can't, which is great because we did not want to be able to wall jump. You'll notice every time we jump, our is grounded goes to false. And now if we take our jump force and we increase it to like 8, and then we jump, we will jump higher. You can actually mess around with the rigid body and get physics to go to however you want. So if you change like the gravity scale to be like 3, and you jump, like you'll fall down way quicker. So there's a bunch of different things you can do in here, and you can mess around with the settings and then experiment with your own character. I'm going to leave my settings as default so that if you mess things up, you can just look at mine. But another thing you can do is just remove the rigid body component if you mess it up, and then just add a new one, and then just make sure to freeze the rotation and add the physics material again.